Good morning, friends. Welcome to WordofGord's OBE Journal 2017. And onward we go. Although in out-of-body experience, the notion of onward is perhaps a little too linear. It tends to throw your concepts of one foot following another and 1 second following the one before it off. Outside of the body, time and space and matter are very malleable, depending on your level of realization and then wish to control or manipulate. You can be out of body for quite a few episodes and not realize any of this. You're still sort of struggling with the way things change in front of your eyes, even if it's just small details like the doorknob on your bedroom door. There are many accounts of this in the literature. I can remember reading one by Robert Monroe at least 30 years ago. And initially matter and then space and time, are responsive to your thoughts and whether they're conscious or not. And many of your thoughts are subconscious. So you will learn to deal with that. It's a little off-putting and sometimes quite amusing. But you're dealing with the world of infinite possibilities at this point. And as are all the dead people that you're going to run into, and other out-of-body travelers, of course. And in my experiences, which I've been relating over the last almost month now, nightly, I have discovered what I suspected for many years, and I'm trying to communicate that, amongst other things, to the rest of you, is that we go out of body almost every night. Not absolutely everyone, but I would suggest to you a majority of incarnate souls go out of body every night. Whether it's just to, rise up from the physical on the bed and float there, absorbing because once you're out of body, you are on some level of the astral plane. The physical body's lying on the bed, and this one's floating above it. Not physically visible, perhaps, but it's there on an astral space. And if it was to suddenly go, I'm awake, and look around, it sees an astral version of the bedroom, which may look identical and may start to look a little odd. And then it moves around the bedroom and gets so excited it sits back down on the bed for a minute and tries to contemplate things and starts to wonder what it's like to maybe go out of the room. And out it goes. Now, when you have an experience like that, you may think it's your first, but it probably isn't. You've probably done all sorts of things unconsciously. The astral body floats around with a level of consciousness that will bring anything resembling a lucid memory or a series of lucid memories back. They might result in, confused surreal dreams where a lot of things are mixed in together, including the activity of your brain. As your brain, as you probably noticed many, many times yourselves, is constantly going over, thinking about things that happened earlier in the day, anticipating things that may happen tomorrow, conversations, situations, errands to be done, things to be avoided, things that, all that sort of a thing. So the astral experience, however sort of pedestrian and vague it might be, will mix in with all that, memories of yesterday, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant, and include pleasure or, envy or resentment or, whatever they include. And then anticipation of the next day or week's issues, which may be any number of things on the emotional rainbow. And so that stuff all gets mixed in together. And you have this ridiculously, sometimes strange, sometimes amusing smorgasbord of images and situations blending into each other in just a fairly chaotic fashion that you will then sit down and try to pick apart and figure out, or some people do. It can certainly be fun doing that. And I should add about the brain activity stuff. I've been exploring that in a slightly different way in the last month or so, since I'm getting up early to do this. And for the first maybe 12 episodes, something like that, 12, maybe 15, I was still at work. I'm on vacation now, but I was at work and I had a fairly early shift and I was quite busy. And I would finish the video and then move into my day fairly quickly. From 6 o'clock onward, if I was doing the video from 5 to 6 or whatever. And would be fairly focused and go off to work. And but since then, in the last at least 2, almost 3 weeks, I've been on vacation at home here. But continuing on through my day in a more relaxed way, and getting some writing and research done at the library, taking walks, going out for lunch, all very close by where I live. And because of this repeated getting up early, sometimes very early, sometimes it's 4:30, 4:45. In a relaxed state, there's a tendency to nod off. And at times when I've been doing that for 3 minutes, 5 minutes or whatever, I slip almost immediately into the hypnagogic state. And where you plug into what I think is the hypnagogic state brings you to that level of brain activity where it's constantly creating stuff. And stuff that you would just normally ignore because it's not powerful enough to distract you from what you have to do every day. And so it was just fascinating to watch the little mind movies that were going on as I would nod off and then come back after 5 minutes in and out of these mind movies where either I was participating in some little movie or just watching one. And it's just fascinating to realize that stuff goes on all the time. And the purpose of it, I wouldn't care to expound upon right now, but it is fascinating, and it has its own level of reality, even though I don't know how useful it is. These things keep coming in and going out and disappearing and fading away and coming back, and all sorts of situations that you think, well, who's that and why is this happening, and am I here or am I just watching? And then it all just fiddles away and fades away, and it doesn't seem to matter at all. It doesn't leave you with any intense emotions or any profound thoughts or whatever. It doesn't, but it's there all the time. Fascinating to me. It's a bit like breathing. You're always breathing all the time, but you don't always notice. And as the medicos tell us, there's the automatic functions of the body. The lungs, the heart, all the organs. They're all going all the time. Maybe at a faster or lower rate, depending on whether you're awake or asleep. But there's all these levels of reality and functioning ongoing constantly. And I think we can not only plug in the hypnagogic state, but the life on all the other planes. As I've mentioned this before, but let me just slot it into this conversation. Life on the various spirit planes is ongoing for all the souls, whether you are thinking of a recently dead family member, or good friend, or you're going out of body a little bit and interacting. It's ongoing, just like the daily life in any village or big city is ongoing, whether you're thinking about it or participating in it or not. It's on. All these things are ongoing, and it's the same with all the dead people, all the millions of dead people, the people who are not an incarnation, but who are functioning on one or other level on the astral and mental planes. There's millions of them. So I think it's instructive and even quite relaxing to think about that. And once in a while, include it in your meditations. But don't include me sniveling and sniffing, for God's sake. It's I wouldn't say it's a summer cold, but it's always there when I get up. It's not quite that bad. Onward into the next little segment. It had occurred to me yesterday that today I would be or tonight, and here we are revisiting it, this particular activity, and I don't know why this was chosen, but maybe it's just the right time for it, the right time according to somebody's notions, maybe my higher self. We all have interactions with our higher self, depending on, it really depends on how conscious you want to make it. And for people who don't recognize the higher self, or understand it, or even have any notion at all about it, that interaction is always subconscious and may be pitched in the person's imagination as a guardian angel, my better half, a spirit guide, and some kind of level of God talking to them. For many millions of people, the spirit influences all get lumped into the word God because they're not ready to do the challenging task of differentiating, which is fine. They will eventually. But for those of us who are past that stage, I believe it's important to try and distinguish between the various energies, entities, and levels. And one level that I would always try to encourage people to at least think about, if they can't feel that they have the courage to explore it, if even not even the interest maybe, is the how shall I put it? Levels of God consciousness, the levels beyond the energy, pure energy realms beyond all the paradises and all the heavens. The realm of the Elysian fields, the undifferentiated one, the ocean of light, the unmanifest. And one can envision this in many ways when one travels in one's consciousness there. A drop of light in an ocean of light is perhaps my more repeated phrase of describing it. And it can be a frightening challenge, because you're definitely, if only for a few seconds, maybe minutes, maybe hours, you're going to give up your identity as to who you are in this life. And not just this incarnation, but all incarnations. You're giving all of that up. You're not this person or that person, that ambitious person, that kind person, that compassionate person, that selfish person, that oppressed person, that nationalist, that successful business person, that poverty-stricken peasant, that poor raped young girl, that coal miner dying of lung disease, any number of issues. You're not any of those people. And for some who are exploring their consciousness, that's a huge leap to not be anything or not be anybody. And I certainly work with people when out of body, showing them how to experience that just a little, because once you have the courage to make that step, whether once out of body or dead, or even here incarnate and meditating, it's not only, well, it's not, it seems like an achievement because you've overcome a lot of fears and doubts briefly, but it's such an expansion to give up all those, or not to give them up, but to see them fall away, all those cares and anxieties and fears and ambitions and desires. Because we are filled with ambition and desire, whether it's the desire for a really good lunch or a new set of clothes, whatever it is, a better job, a PhD and a tenured position in a reputable university, whatever. It's all ambition. And of course, what we're here about is realizing ambitions, to realize, to make that effort, that struggle, and the fulfillment of realizing it. That I'm not disputing the significance or the importance of that, but to reunite, not just with the higher self, because the higher self is an entity, is a created being, but somehow outside or beyond of that. And that consciousness lives in what mystics will call the unmanifest, or the ocean of light, or the one from which the many emerge constantly. The many are always emerging from the one. In Zen, they say the 10,000 things, and there's usually more than 10,000, but that's a good estimate. And we get caught up in the 10,000 things, thinking about this, doing that, fixing this, apologizing for that, pressing onward with plans and commitments, not the least of which is working at a job. And again, I'm not saying it's all part of the game. I'm committed to my job. I've been at it, this particular one, for nearly 35 years. It's a way of committing, it's a way of sort of contributing to society and my community in a fairly positive way, I believe. And obviously it pays the bills. We realize that. But so just in case, you have this feeling that I'm removing significance and importance from all that other stuff to focus on the Godhead. The Godhead is another word for it. Or the out of body state that can lead to the Godhead, because when obviously you can get attracted to many levels and many situations in the spirit realms that are, again, one of the 10,000 things, maybe very joyful and pleasurable and blissful, but it involves the illusion of identity, the illusion of race, ethnicity, gender, class, all those issues, and all of which are interesting to experience and instructive, but ultimately temporary illusions, temporary teaching illusions. Whereas when you're in, however briefly, the one, the ocean of light, the unmanifest, all terms for the same thing, you leave all that behind. So as I sort of move toward there, or remembering moving toward there sometime last night, I recognize that I've done this many times. It's extremely refreshing. And some of you may feel that that's a huge leap, and well, Gordon can do that, but I'm certainly not capable of that myself. And I would ask you just follow along and use your imaginative capabilities and share as much as you can. transferring one's consciousness to another level, transferring my share of the universal consciousness to another level. The bliss here is a release from attachments. They all just fall away. You have no need to do anything. I, in this place, have no need to do anything. All that stuff that we do to increase our understanding, to explore the greater depths and mysteries, to make ourselves a better, more competent, sentient being, it all falls away. All our responsibilities and fears and anxieties about not fulfilling those responsibilities, they all fall away. The fear of not being accepted as an equal among equals in the community, the pressures of definitely not being accepted and fighting for acceptance, as racial minorities often have to do. It all falls away. You put aside all your loves and hates and your amusement and intrigue at all the roles that you have to play in a day. It all falls away. Your being, your pure being. Being without doing. So much of what happens in our lives is doing. Doing a job, doing a game, doing an exploration, doing a retrieval, doing a talk, doing a game. It's all about doing, being a centralized focus of consciousness in a body, doing things. Here, in the one, in the sea of light, we are being, pure being. All our activities seem here to be child's play. Children playing between breakfast and lunch, trying on various roles, trying on various attitudes, acting out. Getting used to the body and what the body can and cannot do. Running, but not running really fast, jumping up and down, jumping on someone else's back. It's all the activity of being in the body. And being in an astral body or a mental body or a causal body is still a body, much more refined and mysterious in its abilities to us than the physical body, but still in a body. Here in the sea of light, you are a speck of light, a drop of water in the ocean of light. You are exactly the same as the rest of the level that you are in. Your consciousness is the same. Your lack of identity is the same. Your awareness is the same. From here, you can be aware of all your incarnations, as you are when bonded with higher self, but you don't have that higher self attachment. You are in some way beyond that. Some people have described this as being with God or being in God, and I'm okay with that. It gets away from personalizing the deity, anthropomorphizing the divine consciousness. God, or the One, embraces everything and everyone who enters it. As they say, the sea refuses no river. The river is the sea, and the sea is the river. And the sea contains all within it. This sea of light contains all possibilities of manifestation. Every focus of consciousness that wishes to become a created being, that wishes to, as a created being, create things on planets, create objects, tools, dwellings, families, interactions, emotions, thoughts. When you become a created being, and when you step out of the One, all the other creative actions follow. Some because you're merely coping with your environment, which can be oppressive and challenging, or because you've achieved some level of security in that environment and wish to be creative for the joy of being creative. But here in the One, these are all ideas that might happen or might not happen. It's all potential. It's all there, unmanifest in potential. And as a drop of light in the ocean of light, you know this. You can glimpse, if you wish, societies and civilizations rising and falling. You may envision the millions of existences that go into a society or a civilization rising and falling, reaching its potential and then slipping away, and then morphing into the next civilization or society that gains dominance or preeminence. Because the whole rising and falling in power and influence and creative activity is a factor, an unavoidable factor of the physical plane. Manifestations rise and fall and then fade away, just as you arrive as a baby and rise into your full potential as an adult, and then slowly fade away into old age. It's all about rising and falling. Whereas here, in the unmanifest, it is just being. Being without anxieties or attributes. You're not a good being, a bad being, a powerful being, a timid being, a fearful being that shirks away from everything, an ambitious being that takes on everything that comes their way. You're not a being at all. You are being itself, life itself, consciousness itself, consciousness without an object. Of course it feels good. For me, it feels like a serene type of blissfulness. Not an excited type of blissfulness, more serene. Calm acceptance of all the vanities of ambition, shall we say. Individual ambition, family ambition, societal ambition, all those ambitions to make their stamp on the world, to be remembered, to be taken as something impressive and powerful. From here, that seems amusing. More amusing than absorbing, although it does get absorbing when you get into it. But standing back and feeling the possibilities, well, you're not involved. All worlds are created from this unmanifest. It's the same unmanifest that beings from other planets, beings who visit us humans and interact with us, it's the same unmanifest that they emerge out of. The unmanifest, the sea of light, the Godhead, it is not privy to any one planet. All planets and galaxies emerge from it. It has no identity that can be analyzed and categorized by the scientific method or even the mystical method. It is beyond all methods of analysis and categorization. Method and knowledge and analytical, rational categorization, none of that matters here. None of it. Here we are one, all little ones, little identical ones, making up the big one. And losing that identity and becoming identical is a challenge if you've spent decades and maybe many lifetimes establishing a strong individual identity rather than, the hive mentality of the young soul, the desire to be one of the gang and act in a tribally approved fashion. If you've spent decades, centuries, lifetimes pushing for that fearless ambition to be an individual, distinct from other individuals, distinct and identifiable, giving that up to be in the unmanifest, even for just a few moments, can be a huge challenge. But once you're here, you recognize the benefits. So I encourage you to use my words to float, allow yourself to float into this reality, into this ocean of light. It is your home and your home away from home. The breathtaking beauties of the paradise worlds are, from here, merely that, breathtaking beauties, transcendentally lovely creations. You can give up your attachment to those too. But recognizing that as you give up your attachments, they are still there for others who are moving towards that realization and living within it. You've left the party to go for a walk, but you can always return. So live with me in the beauty of this moment that is not a moment, in this light that is not light, in this ocean that is not ocean, in this undifferentiated consciousness from which all emerges, including your sense of purpose and identity. Here there is no purpose. Here there is no ambition. Here there is just presence, just being. Be here now. Be here with me now. Be here with the me that is not me. This is not Gordon. This is undifferentiated consciousness, speaking through Gordon. Here we are present at all points in space and time. Whether we choose to manifest that temporary presence is another issue. But in potential, we are there. We are present, omnipresent, omniscient. We understand before entering the incarnation, any incarnation, the parameters of the experience that we are allowing ourselves into. We understand what might be achieved, what can be achieved, and what was achieved. We see the journey ahead of us and decide to participate. Or we see another journey ahead of us and decide not to take that option. Here, though, there is no option. You are just being. Being is the option. Pure being without desire to manifest or create. Here we are nothing and quite fulfilled at being nothing. For a few moments, no glory, no achievement, no fulfillment, no pride, no planet, no society, no culture can tempt you. Here, being is enough. Feel the worlds in all their potential spinning about you. Feel those marvelous playgrounds for the expressions of consciousness in a myriad of forms. See yourself on some of them, interacting, growing, understanding the mystery of manifestation. Watch all the cosmic games unfold and then disappear. For here is where nothing matters. Not really. Here is where all playing consciousness emerges from and returns to after playing on one of an infinite number of playgrounds. Here is where you merge with God and do not question the activities or decisions of God, situations that you may have thought were divine decisions, divine directives. They are not. They are life unfolding, life in form unfolding, and the various forces and paradoxes struggling with each other until opposing ambitions are equalized, settled. enjoy our few moments here, if enjoy even is the right word. Experience it. And as we return to normal waking consciousness, down through the paradises and the heaven worlds and the purgatories and the lower astral realms, the hell realms, the submolecular structures, the subatomic structures and chaotic activity that matter rests upon. Let's move back through all of that and into our daily lives, our consciousness of our identity, who we are this time around. And right on cue, the morning sun is shining in my face. Very nice. And wasn't that relaxing? So friends, one more exploration you can participate in or explore or challenge yourself with. And best of wishes from me on all those adventures. And until tomorrow, farewell.